Thank you for watching, and remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for your support.
About flooding quite a bit, maybe more than you're used to, and you would be right if you've been thinking that. Let's take a look at the average amount of rainfall that we typically see. This is from 1981 through 2010, the normals that you would expect. You'll notice a gradient here, especially as you look from portions of the western parts of the country to the very wet areas like New Orleans that see more than 5 feet of rain on average a year. A place like Minneapolis sees about 2.5 feet of rain per year, but a lot of us have seen quite a bit more than that. Where you're seeing the yellows and even the oranges, especially here along the Gulf Coast, across the southeast, portions of Missouri and Illinois there, we're talking about 8 to even more than 16 inches above average in terms of rainfall so far. A very stark contrast when you look west and you see the abundantly dry soils there, especially across portions of Northern California, Oregon, and Washington. Now, in terms of flooding so far this year, Texas is leading the way with 351 reports of flash flooding, Missouri and Mississippi following in the 200s. But we are well above average in terms of the number of flash flood reports we should have seen so far. So typically by mid-July, we should have seen just over 2,100 flash flood reports. Instead, we're sitting at more than 2,600, so we're well above average, and that's a trend that we're not seeing slowing here in the U.S., Chris. But it's not just here that we've seen flooding issues. It's also in Germany this week. That ruined your vacation. Get some board games. If you didn't bring any board games, there's so many different things you can do to kind of salvage those rainier days inside. So let's talk about the issues that we're having currently in Arkansas. We do have this flash flood warning going on with a threat considerable tag on this. From local law enforcement in this area, we've actually gotten the report that Highway 1 was overrun with water and impassable near Roar. I'm not sure I'm saying that right, but near Roar, that's what I'm going to call it. So we are seeing already some roads being flooded here in this flash flood warning area, and that rain is not done yet, especially in the southern vicinity of that flash flood warning. The rain has continued to fill in across north central Alabama here between Tupelo and Jackson. It has generally stayed north of Jackson at this point, but it could certainly rotate down a little bit. Take a look at where we're going to have the meeting of these two different atmospheric things going on. We've got the breeze coming in off the Gulf of Mexico and the daytime heating starting to bubble those storms up across the Gulf Coast. And then we also have the front and some pieces of energy that are kind of all filling in, making that squeeze play together, eventually bringing quite a bit of rain to portions of central Mississippi and Alabama. So here's that moisture pulled north that I was talking about. There's the front that's also impacting our weather. There's our plume of rain eventually diving south along that 20 corridor by 4 o'clock this afternoon. Abundantly moist air mass, very, very humid when it's not storming. And where it is storming, some of those could be a little bit feisty. We've got plenty of instability going on, and along that 35 corridor, or along that 55 corridor, excuse me, definitely could have some of those storms. If you're headed out to the Braves game in Atlanta, plan around the weather a little bit for the earlier afternoon. Things should clear up for the evening by game time, though. And Chris, it's not just here that we've been watching storms. It's farther west as well. Plan around the weather, Dr. Postel. Not just there, though, but here as well. We've got that risk for severe storms in this shaded red area as we move through the afternoon into the evening, even some overnight hours. Rapid City, you're included in that. Portions of southwestern North Dakota. We're going to stretch that down through Nebraska, even into portions of Colorado as well, extremely northeastern Colorado. Still fairly quiet as you look through the Dakotas, but that is not the case for Kansas so far this morning. Look at Wichita. You guys have been stuck in the rain for quite some time. We've had this pocket of storms really just hanging out over this same area north of Tulsa, but south of that 49 corridor there. And that is something that we're seeing that's continuing to add up in terms of the rainfall amounts. So for today, we've got that risk for severe storms from Amarillo all along the 40 corridor through Fort Smith, up into Wichita through that 35 corridor as well. Watch what happens as we move through your afternoon. So here's on the future radar, 5 o'clock. We've got these storms dotting the landscape across northern Arkansas, the Ozarks. We're still seeing that across portions of Kansas, but we're also starting to see that activity become more abundant as you look back toward the Front Range and the High Plains. Now, this continues to build eastward as we head through the evening from Rapid City down through North Platte, Goodland. Those storms are going to be knocking on your door as we head through the overnight hours. And watch how this complex of storms dashes south through the Ozarks across the Mississippi Valley in places that we're already seeing some flooding issues. So, yeah, Chris, we've had some problems out there already.
Well, still